afternoon. We're here today with Shyamal Chandradathsingh, owner of Kin Song Studios, and we are here today to do a little interview on our new project, Green Heart Mission. So welcome and thank you for being a part of this behind the scenes and this interview with us today.
My pleasure to work on it.
Nice. Getting straight into it, I want to ask you first, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your evolution into this music industry, and a little bit about Kin Song Studios and how it came about?
Sure, that's a very long question.
Yes.
But I'll break it into the Cliff Notes version. So I've been playing music since I was about 14 years old.
Right.
So quite a few decades.
Yeah.
And I played guitar and bass. I played bass in many bands. I've played for many of Trinidad's top artists.
Yeah.
I played bass in 3 Canal for 8 years. I played in my main band, Kin Sound System, for about 12, 15 years now. And the name of the studio comes from my band's name, Kin Sound System. And the reason why is Kin Sound Studios is owned by myself and Kiwan Lander-Smith, who were the guitarist and bassist in Kin.
Nice.
So we transitioned from the band into the studio.
Nice.
But I've worked in studios for many years. Prior to this studio, I owned another studio with a gentleman by the name of Mark Taverneau, who was one of the gifted producers. He would have produced bands like Tripped and Falling. He would have done Orange Sky's album, That Is Voodoo. And so we worked closely together. He unfortunately passed away. Sort of around that time, we also opened this new studio, which specializes, as you can see from the space, in recording live instruments. So we're a little bit different. You know, most studios in today's world focus on recording vocals because most tracks are produced in the box. So, you know, you just make your beats on the computer using samples. You may use a mic to record a little drum here or a guitar there. Here you could actually record a full band at the same time.
Nice. Well, that's leading right into the second question, because the question was what distinguishing Kin Song Studios with other recording studios. So I guess you answered that, check that off the box on one side.
Yeah.
Nice. You have dedicated your own personal time to producing this song for us, Green Heart Mission. Yeah. So my question would be, what was the reasoning for doing this? What was the reason for saying yes to us at IAM?
Yeah, great. So as you may know, I don't personally work on a lot of projects anymore. Now there are other people that will do a lot of the engineering and the mixing work, but I do from time to time take on what I would consider passion projects that I'd like to work on. This one is one for me. I've known about IAMovement, I think pretty much from the inception of IAMovement, and I've seen some of the work, the very public stuff like the Heart in the Savannah. I've heard the Barkham brothers talk about the Vets of our Grass. I've met them on some of their other projects like Cocoa Republic. So I've kept track of what you guys have been doing through the years. And it's something that really resonates with me. My wife is an environmental engineer. She was very involved in recycling and other forms of green engineering, renewable energy. And so this is something that in my family is a topic of daily discussion. How do we look at our environmental impact? How do we improve the state of Trinidad and Tobago's environmental consciousness? So I jumped at the opportunity to work at this project.
Great, and thanks for taking us on board. In your opinion, what would you say makes a good song? Like a great song, what you need? What are the elements that you say needed to...
Right, that's probably one of the hardest questions you could ask anybody, right? Because it's so entirely subjective and a massive. And when I was much younger, I probably have a lot more technical answer for you.
Right.
But as I've sort of matured in this industry, I would say that the answer to that question really is a song that people like. A song that's catchy. If people are singing along to it, it's a good song.
Okay. Short and simple and sweet. I love it. In your opinion, when it comes to Green Heart Mission, do you think this song can impact the listener's view regarding how it's perceiving environmental matters? If so, how?
Yeah, Green Heart Mission, from the first time that Noche Blanca played it for me, or since I think I got a video from Nicole, and then he came into the studio and he performed it, and I've been listening to the story in the song.
Yes.
And it is a very catchy song with a catchy hook, but at the same time there is a story in there, and it's really talking about the impact of man's sort of impact on the environment, and how nature may react.
Yes.
Right. So I think it's a powerful message, and I think it's going to resonate from the lyrics.
Right.
It's going to resonate from the catchiness of what Noche Blanca's put together. So I think it's a good calling card.
And as you're talking about Noche Blanca, could you tell me your experience you had working with him on this project? A little bit.
Yeah. So I actually first saw him perform. I had never met him before him coming into the studio to record this song.
Yeah.
And so, thanks to the IAMovement for the introduction, because it's been a blast to work with him.
Nice.
But I heard him perform at a Coco conference once.
Yeah.
And I was like, who is this amazing guy who plays the cuatro like that? I've never seen anybody play the cuatro like that. So, from a musicianship perspective, it was really great to work with him. The song, as catchy and simple as it may sound, is actually extraordinarily complicated.
Yes.
It's got many moving parts and key changes, and it's a really strong work of music that this guy's put together.
Right.
So yeah, really, really a great pleasure to work with him on a great project.
Nice. So with that being said, I know it's been a couple of months.
Yeah.
Could you give us a little insight into the creative process behind Green Heart Mission?
Yeah. So as I said, we in studio here we can actually support a band playing this whole song together. But when Noche came, he said he really wanted to paint a new canvas. So rather than looking at his previous arrangement of the song, he wanted to come up with something new.
Yes.
So we actually did this as a sort of very iterative process, where we started with putting down the vocal and the cuatro, and then we built the other parts using a lot of Trinidad's prestigious session musicians.
Right.
So we used people from the reggae fraternity that came in and lent their expertise in building this out. I think it's something that a lot of people have put a lot of great effort into, and I really hope people like it.
We hope so too. And one thing about this song or the production so far that stood out to you, unexpected, memorable, anything that occurred during production one thing that stand out to you?
There was one thing that stood out to me about the song, but I'm going to leave that for when it debuts and people hear it, right? Because he had something that he really insisted that had to go in, a very unique instrument, that you wouldn't normally hear in a reggae song, certainly, so I think people will hear it and identify it immediately when.
No problem. All we have hints on is that it's an instrument. That's what we have to tune into.
That's a misleading hint.
No problem. But we will listen. In terms of the song, how did you feel the song turned out, and from what you expected, and how was the process from the beginning to coming up to the end now?
Yeah, it was a really smooth process actually. With these things, because we were creating in the studio, sort of on the spot. It's a process that took some time, but we didn't want to rush anything, and we took out the time to maybe digest after every session and understand what the next layer required. After every session, and understand what the next layer required to make the song whole. Yeah, and from what was sent to you, the sample, was it what you expected it to be? Now, weeks into production. No, I think I really am pleasantly surprised with how it's come out. I think what's come out at the other end of this is very legitimately a strong piece of work that speaks for itself. Nice. So coming off of Green Heart Mission, thank you for telling us a little insight about it. And I think my final question to you would be, if you had one thing or something to tell anybody who wants to follow in your footsteps, wants to do recording, wants to do producing, what would you tell us? What advice would you give? I think production is, it's still a musical job. Yes. Right? Because what you're doing is you're bridging in between the engineering, which is the technical side of things, and the musical side of things. And if you really want to do that, then the best thing to do is there's a lot of resources available on YouTube to study the different parts of audio engineering, get a good foundation there on the tips and tricks of how to use compression, reverb, equalization. Those are the three key things. And then apply that to your musicianship. And once you have a strong vision, I guess the key to this job more than anything else is listening. Yeah, right. Right. So the more that you have the ability to objectively listen to something and see what it just the little 2% that it needs to make it a finished product. That's what production's about. Nice. So I want to thank you very much. Thank you for taking your time
thank you for doing this with us, and do hope that we can work with you in the future.
Absolutely.